Hey, you guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven, accompanied by Queen Taylor, and today we have an exciting one. We have a long one, and we have one that's of very high interest to you and us. This is Time Team Special. This is a special from Time Team, Boudica's Lost Tribe, a classic special in 2011 East Anglia, which that 2011 East Anglia, I don't know what that means, because East Anglia was, after the Romans left, they broke it up into Wessex, Northumbria, Mercia.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if East Anglia is still a thing today.
I don't know for certain, but I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either. So you guys, this is a long one. I know of Boudica. Are you ready? My gamers out there? I know of Boudica just from one thing and one thing alone. Rise of Kingdoms. I don't know if you guys have ever played Rise of Kingdoms. I got sucked into it during COVID, and that's the only reason why I know of her name, and I know a little bit of her story.
I know nothing of Boudica. I just am assuming it's a woman based on the statue in the thumbnail.
So,
this is going to be real new and exciting.
And I've never seen Time Team.
No, but this went over really well on Patreon.
Yeah, this
won our spin the wheel, and everybody was very excited about not only this video, but also Time Team.
So guys, buckle up, get your Maltesers box. Taylor?
Don't you dare.
Taylor?
Maltesers shame me. I will not be shamed.
This was supposed to be a month supply. We got this Sunday.
Nobody said it was supposed to be a month supply, and I am not the only one who ate those.
You ate 98% of these.
Yeah, I sure did. They are here. I work on YouTube at night. I do the stuff. I take a couple, put them in my mouth.
So you guys, get your bucket of Maltesers.
Even if it's empty almost. Get your tea.
Cheers.
Cheers. And get ready for this awesome video.
Let's hop on over.
Hi, you're watching Boudica's Lost Tribe on the Time Team official YouTube channel with me, Tony Robinson.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Boudica, the greatest heroine of early Britain.
She is the image of our warrior past.
Leader of the Iceni tribe. These mysterious people left behind some of the greatest treasures of their age.
The earliest style of art that is recognizably British.
It took immense skill to create these objects.
It's molten. Now this is scary.
But the coming of the Romans threatened the Iceni way of life until Boudica led an uprising.
Yes,
They
girl.
have been waiting years for this. They're the pressure cooker about to blow the lid.
Boudica's small tribe dared to take on the full might of the Roman Empire.
They're killing everything they can get their hands on, men, women and children.
And they paid the price with their blood.
Total destruction, disorder, chaos.
It's brutal, it's deadly.
Guys, I have chills.
I do too.
I have like immense chills just going into this video.
I'm so into it already.
Do you want the subtitles on or off?
You can turn them off.
Turn them off?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I usually like them on because I like to read it in case I miss anything, but you can turn them off. They're a little distracting in this.
Yeah. This is rich. I thought the Time Team special was like or the Time Team official channel was something kind of like the Society of Preservation, you know, something more YouTubey.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of YouTubers doing this. This is like a legit something you would see on the Discovery Channel.
I was just gonna say the History Channel, yeah.
The History Channel. Like this seems like a broadcast.
It does. This already so far definitely seems like something we would watch on our own time.
Yeah, 100%. I actually love it. And what's interesting, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to say what I know from the descriptions of Rise of Kingdom.
I don't want to spoil. Are you going to spoil
I'm not
something
going to spoil
for me?
nothing. I'm not going to
Okay.
spoil anything.
Then just
Blood.
Total destruction, disorder, chaos.
It's brutal, it's deadly, and it's horrific.
Can a new dig tell us more about what happened to Boudica and her people in the aftermath of the
Oh,
revolt?
no kidding.
Wow.
They're archaeologists.
I want to go on a dig. She looks like a badass too.
Yeah. Did you... I know that the French did the Statue of Liberty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But did you see Boudica's face in that statue? She kind of looks a little bit like the
does a little
Statue
bit,
of
yeah.
Liberty. I wonder if they modeled the Statue of Liberty off of Boudica's likeness.
Maybe.
Would that would be crazy. Curious. Though.
Freedom.
Yeah.
July the 20th, 1928, a small airfield in Norfolk. Two RAF reconnaissance pilots are about to set out on a life-changing trip. Their mission, take aerial photographs of a farmer's field 2 miles south of Norwich, close to the tiny hamlet of Caister St Edmund. At ground level, these fields look like nothing out of the ordinary. But from the air, it was a different story. Down in the parched grass below was the visible outline of the street grid of an entire Roman town.
How cool is that?
Yeah, how? So that's blowing my mind right now. What? Because you think like that grid would be, I get that the Roman roads, like the way that they made roads back then was like layers of rocks and layers of all this, I guess, to like last centuries, but that is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Because you even see, because you just imagine this being a farmer's field.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking grass, I'm thinking, wheat or something, just by being touched by humans, that this would get all disrupted.
It was better than they dared to hope for.
No kidding.
The pilots were looking at Venta Icenorum, the largest and most important Roman city in northern East Anglia.
Norfolk.
What?
East Anglia, I guess, is in Norfolk.
Oh.
Or is now Norfolk. Norfolk. Yeah.
The Times published the photos, creating an overnight sensation. Aerial photography was the geophysics of its time, real cutting-edge stuff. Public donations funded a major dig led by Professor Donald Atkinson. He found a forum, public baths, temples, all the indications of a major Roman town.
Wow.
And then it went quiet. The field reverted back to agricultural land and for the next 80 years remained unexplored. Until now.
Oh, that's so interesting.
For the first time since the 1920s, a new team are about to dig this site. And this time around, the Roman remains aren't the main attraction. Brand new technology has allowed archaeologists to create a complete plan of the buried town in extraordinary detail, and it's turned out to be much more significant than anyone originally thought. But it's not the Roman town that's causing all the excitement, it's what lies beneath it that's got everyone talking. Will Bowden and his colleagues from the University of Nottingham have got just 6 weeks to get to grips with Venta Icenorum. They think they may be picking up signs of significant Iron Age structures beneath the Roman town.
Ooh.
These could be the traces of a much older Iceni settlement.
Look at that technology.
We know that
they
this
got.
part of
crazy.
What is
Norfolk
that thing?
was at the very heart of Iceni territory. And if Boudica had a capital anywhere, this is where you might expect to find it. This really is spectacularly good geophys, isn't it? I can see the traditional Roman town layout, the grid, the square system, but where on earth is the Iron Age stuff? I would have expected to see circles, and I can't see any.
Well, when you stare at it for hours and hours, you can start to pick them out. We've got a large circular feature up here, a smaller one down here, and then another small one up here.
And if they are circles, they would be likely to be Iron Age roundhouses rather than the squarer buildings that the Romans built.
It's possible. Iron Age roundhouses, these round forms of building, actually continue throughout the Roman period. But the fact is that some of these seem to be cut by the streets of the Roman town.
So they're older than
We think they're older.
Wow.
The other thing that my mind can't wrap, like I can't wrap my head around this. I just can't comprehend it because they're talking about, the earth and the ground. And, so there's an Iron Age civilization underneath this Roman civilization that built on top of it. I keep getting lost in the fact that these were hundreds of years ago. So like, I'm just thinking of the earth being shifted and disrupted. Like, how do you bury like a structure?
Yeah.
And then just keep piling up and up and up on top of it? Like, how do you sink something like that into the ground? It just, my mind doesn't allow me to like, when you unearth it, I'm like, well, the ground that we're walking on today, wouldn't it be the same?
Like the earth was this size, and then you just continually build on top of everything, and then it just gets thicker and thicker and thicker.
And I'm not saying the earth, like the entire, I'm talking about just like a piece of land, but like, I get that. All right, maybe they demolished what was on the land prior, just stripped it. So what would be left? I don't know. I don't know if it's like reburied and just like over time, fills up and,
Yeah.
And if you go back in time hundreds and hundreds of years ago, what was the landscape like?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's very interesting that I can't seem to really, I can't wrap my head around that concept.
So what reasons might there have been for the Romans building their town slap bang on top of an Iceni settlement?
There are a number of possibilities. It could be a repressive measure in the aftermath of the Boudican revolt. It could be favouring a faction of the Iceni that didn't take part in the revolt. It could reflect the location of a military settlement that was here in the aftermath of the revolt. So there are a number of possibilities.
Yeah.
I was going to say, knowing that Boudica and her tribe went and kind of tried to push them out and fought them, it was probably just purely out of spite, like,
Yeah.
spitting on someone's grave, essentially.
I mean, they have their theories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're all possibilities, but like, how would you know? I mean, gosh, I guess that's their whole attempt here is like, what can we find after digging this up?
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to find much. What? Why are you looking at me like that? I don't think, I mean, it blows my mind. Archaeologists in general just blow my mind.
It's now down to the archaeologists to find physical evidence of the
What?
Iceni settlement underlying the Roman town. Only then may they be able to establish exactly what happened to the Iceni and to their town in the aftermath of Boudica's uprising.
See, like, how far down do you have to go before you start hitting gold, Pay dirt. How far down till you hit pay dirt?
Probably is not always the same.
Yeah. Like, would this be a problem? Like, what if they hit some kind of ancient artifact by digging it up with an
It's a risk you
excavator?
have to take, I guess.
Yeah.
At Caister St Edmund in Norfolk, a dig is getting underway at the Roman settlement of Venta Icenorum. There'll be 2 major new trenches, and these could transform our understanding of the site. The results may ultimately shed new light on the fate of the Iceni the tribe who lived in this area. In 60 AD, they were led by Boudica to rebel against the Roman occupation. The Iceni lived all across the lands we today know as Norfolk, yet until recently, we knew next to nothing about them. Many historians still thought of them as a primitive, backward tribe.
Oh.
But then, in 1948, a surprise discovery changed everything.
Whoa.
A farmer ploughing his fields at Snettisham in northwest Norfolk found a lump of dirty old metal. Thinking it was part of an old brass bedstead, he tossed it away.
Of course.
For a week,
Naturally.
it lay in a hedgerow. But when further fragments of metal kept on turning up, experts from Norwich Museum were called in. They soon realised it wasn't old scrap. It was a gold torque.
Wow.
Wow, that is so cool.
In total, they found an incredible haul of 175 objects in the area.
Wow.
All made out of gold, like
The
pure
talks
gold.
found here in Norfolk are some of the most significant archaeological finds in the entire world and the greatest symbol of the Iron Age people. Neither the Romans nor the Greeks or the Chinese could make anything comparable in gold at that time. Far from being a backwater tribe, as the archaeologists originally...
Hold on, I have to get this thought out really quick.
Mm-hmm.
If the Romans built on top of this area,
Yeah.
they saw none of this gold?
I mean, maybe their treasures prior they stored it in the ground, or maybe they buried it, buried treasure, and they didn't look it up. I have no idea.
I guess I'm just thinking back to like, you know, Vikings and Danelaw, and where they would just like search for that sort of stuff. And I'm surprised, I guess. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not like what was actually done, but I'm surprised that they wouldn't like look for it.
Or-
Especially if they're building all their stuff on top of it. They're probably going to have to dig for some things.
Or they did know of it and they just had it.
And then nobody ever dug it up and used it. They
or
just
I
all
think they just
died.
lived its life cycle, and then, you know, like
Interesting.
at the end of that, the last possession of that gold was probably some dude living in an old shack on this land, and he finally died in his bed with all of his gold, and then eventually just time and weather took it. I don't know.
Okay.
It is very
Time.
interesting.
Far from being a backwater tribe, as the archaeologists originally thought, the Iceni were technological wizards when it came to metalworking.
Yeah, no kidding. Look at that.
The Snettisham
So
Talks are the richest collection of Iron Age metalwork ever discovered.
Wow.
And they seem to have been made by Boudica's people, the Iceni.
I've seen that.
Torques are large metallic neck rings, precious objects found across many Iron Age Celtic cultures.
It was like a crown. I mean, the torque is a direct equivalent, I think, of a crown. It's an object which is extremely valuable and only worn by the very top people. You know, everyone else had elaborate swords, elaborate scabbards, and all of that sort of thing, but it was just a very few people who had these elaborate torques. And they had
Look
some
at that.
superbly good craftsmen who were working on what was the earliest style of art that is recognizably British.
As archaeologists further examined the Snettisham Talks, there were further surprises in store.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Like when you're looking at just this picture, you have all these torques inside of like, you know, because if they were necklaces, so people were taking the necklaces off and putting it down this hole, or maybe in some kind of like, how are you getting all of these in one centralized location?
Yeah.
Like I can imagine if there's a battlefield and just people died, and then you'd have like a torque over there and like, you know, necklaces all around. But
It's true.
I wonder if the farmer who found this got any compensation for it being
Yeah,
on his
right.
land.
I'm also interested because a lot of times, you know, when you have a piece of land as a farmer, it's kind of passed down to you through family. If maybe way back, this is like a very extended relative who owned any of this,
Yeah.
that would be really cool. I'm also I think it's really fascinating learning what they are, because I actually thought they were bracelets. So they're much larger than that.
They're much larger. Yeah.
So cool.
Some had been buried in careful layers of bronze, silver, and then gold, with each layer covered in several inches of soil.
So who put them there?
Along with other talks found in Norfolk, they were taken to the British Museum. Only now are museum scientists able to deploy the latest technology to unlock the secrets of the talks. Among a barrage of tests, they were studied under scanning electron microscopes, or SEMs. The process soon revealed tiny details, traces left by the people who wore them 2,000 years ago.
And in the SEM, we can look at that and look in terms of the wear patterns that are from the use of the object. So the wear we see is around here. Do you see where the two wires are rubbed together and actually worn each other out? So when it was actually in use, it would flex, and you take it on, you put it off, and it'll rub together. And this is how we know that it has been used in antiquity, and probably for quite some time before it was buried.
The talks turned out to be composed of unusual alloys of copper, silver, and gold. Scientists were able to show that by repeatedly hammering the metal, the Iceni craftsmen were actually changing the chemical composition of the outer surface.
We get very excited when we do a polished section. You can see actually that what nobody else has ever seen, even the metallurgists couldn't see it themselves. The core here is actually copper rich, and the white areas on the outside are actually silver and gold rich. But they've actually removed most of the copper from the actual outside to leave the rich colour that they wanted, the sort of gold silvery colour rather than a copper core.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So the hammering process changes the appearance of the talks, removing copper and allowing the gold or silver to shine through.
Clever.
But the archaeologists were still left scratching their heads. Over 100 of the 175 Snettisham talks were found in fragments. And as the scientists studied them further, it became clear that most hadn't been damaged by ploughs or the ravages of time.
And we can see from the SEM micrographs very clearly these cut marks.
Oh my gosh. Are they alluding to the Romans?
That's what I was wondering as well.
Are they see these cut marks
Yeah.
from steel?
Yeah.
Oh, I got chills just listening to that. This is riveting, you guys.
Hadn't been damaged by ploughs or the ravages of time.
And we can see from the SEM micrographs very clearly these cut marks. They've used a chisel and hammered it and cut straight through to totally destroy that particular talk.
The Iceni had deliberately broken their talks before putting them in the ground. For the archaeologists, it was a baffling mystery.
So now, is that an assumption, or could have the Romans broke it out of spite?
I don't feel like,
Iceni?
why would they do that though? Why wouldn't they just keep it?
I don't know. Yeah, I would think they would probably too. Maybe that's why the Iceni did break it, was so that
They couldn't get their hands on it.
so the Romans couldn't use it or wear them
Yeah.
as a sign of, because that would be very disrespectful.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
assume.
The disrespect.
Why would they cut up their most prized possessions,
Yeah, and
their
we're asking
crown
that.
jewels?
It's difficult to know why you would destroy something as beautiful as a talk. I think it very much has to do with the idea of giving something back to the ground. So if you are burying something, it may be an offering in some way. But you might not want to give all of that back. You might want to keep some of it back for redistribution in other ceremonies, or you may even want to only give a certain amount and then melt down the rest to make another artifact.
Interesting. Not where my head would have gone.
Yeah, not at all.
Painstaking analysis of the talks gave the British Museum crucial clues as to how they were made.
Yeah, because we're thinking about it in like a single instance of, because in my mind, I'm thinking this is due to the revolt,
Yeah.
but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like throughout the civilization of the Iceni tribe, this is like a tradition that they would do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why they're saying these artifacts. I wonder if they can determine the age of each artifact from each other.
Yeah, probably get a pretty good idea.
Because if you think like through hundreds of years, maybe like the grandmother would have one and break it off and put it in the ground. And that happened for decades, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know, that's what I was trying to think, if there was maybe a reason, because they'd said that only like the top people, I think is what he said, got these. And everybody else just had like nicer swords and what have you. But I wondered if it was maybe something like, oh, if you were one of those top people that got something on your 15th birthday, you know, when you how do they say it back in the day? Basically, like when a woman bled for the first time, that was like a big thing. And so she would get one. And then maybe when you had your first child, for example, oh, like break that one and you get a newer, nicer one or something like that. You know, like different phases of your life, and different things that you did. Maybe they got like one that was just bigger or more extravagant or something. I don't really know.
It's all speculation.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's all speculation, yeah. It's an interesting thought, though.
It was obvious the Iceni must have been master craftsmen using some highly sophisticated techniques. Time Team's Helen Geek is at Chatham Historic Docks to meet Dana Goodburn-Brown, metal conservation specialist. Together, they're going to attempt to make a replica torque using Iron Age craft skills.
Oh,
so it's made up of lots and lots of really thin little wires.
Impressive, isn't it?
So one of these big strands has got 3 strands within it, and each one of those is made up of 2 twisted together. So if there's 48 lengths of wire, how long is that in total?
We think that's like close to 19 meters of wire.
Golly. And how on earth do you make this wire? It's so fine.
In the past, this had to be hand hammered.
Yeah.
So you would cast it as far as you could in thickness, and then you place it on the anvil. You turn it while you're hammering, and it slowly starts to elongate, and then carry on hammering it.
So it would be like rolling out a long sausage of plasticine in a way, but instead of using your hands to press, you've got to use a hammer.
Exactly. Because just like with dough, you put a bit of water in if it's starting to crack.
Yeah.
With metal, you have to heat it up. And then, and when you heat it up, it oxidizes, and then you dip it in acid, and then you get going again.
Okay.
See how you feel.
Right.
Beating the metal lengthens the wire and removes copper from the surface, but it's heavy going. Helen and Dana have worked out that it would take them 80 days of non-stop hammering to make enough wire for their torque. So they've decided to cheat and use shop-bought stuff instead.
So you need to hold it taut, and then we're going to twist it clockwise.
Now they've got to twist the separate wire strands together.
It's completely even, isn't it? It just evens
It works itself out, yeah.
Once they've twisted 2 wires together, they repeat it, then join 3 pairs together to make a really thick strand.
But what's incredible about that is if you're thinking about the Iceni doing this for their torques, I can see now why, you know, only certain people got them, because I can imagine they had shifts working this thing, beating out just to get the length right. And then, this process, because they were just talking 80 days just to get the length right.
Yeah.
Not the braiding, the twisting and all that stuff. So, and that was one.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is nuts.
They're really springy, aren't they, with 3? Oh, dear.
They've still got their work cut out for them. Hours more twisting in store before we'll see a finished torque. Experimental archaeology like this can help us understand how Iceni craftsmen made their masterpieces. But it can also...
So that's really interesting that he says that, because that's not something that I ever thought of an archaeologist doing, is doing experimental things like that to help kind of figure things out and you know, think of maybe like a time period or what have you.
I think
so. That's really cool.
They have like the best job. You mean to tell me they're getting paid to do that?
I wanted to be an archaeologist when I was in college my first time. Actually, I was supposed to go to Jerusalem and do a dig, and I would have been there over my 21st birthday. But I don't remember what happened at the time, but all the money that I had into the deposit for it, I ended up having to put like a lot towards, maybe it was my car or something, but so I didn't get to, but it would have been really cool. And this is really super fascinating to see. I also got to watch a blacksmith work, and do some of these sort of similar things. And it's really, really interesting.
Yeah. And so if you look at like maybe the technology or the tools that were used back then, like how do you replicate the tools that were used? Like we're talking an anvil, but like were they using an anvil-esque a hammer? Like obviously probably a hammer, but
yeah,
what else did they have? Because maybe the Icenas had something that was much better.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe like they're speculating on how they created these things, but maybe the tools in themselves had
made a difference.
Yeah. I don't know.
How Iceni craftsmen made their masterpieces. But it can also deliver valuable insights into everyday Iceni life. At Butser Ancient Farm in Hampshire, there's a huge experiment going on. They're trying to find out what villages might have looked like in Boudica's time.
This isn't just an Iron Age Disneyland, is it?
No. The site was set up as an archaeological research site for archaeologists to test their theories. They might have excavated something and found artefacts and thought they might have made it like this, or they might have used it for this, but until you can actually try it out and prove that it was possible to use it or make it in that way, you don't really know that that's true. So that's what this site is all about.
So all of these are reproduced from different archaeological sites?
Yes, they're all our houses here are copies of houses that have been excavated somewhere else.
How neat.
Luckily for us, really Butser has got reconstructions of Iron Age roundhouses, the very type of homes that were probably built by the Iceni. Traces of an Iron Age roundhouse like this are exactly what Will and his team are after at their dig in Caister. It would give them solid proof of an Iron Age settlement sitting beneath the Roman town of Venta Icenorum.
But how do you know that this is what an Iron Age house would have looked like?
We only build our houses from archaeological evidence. So we take the data from an archaeological dig, and what we're looking at is the evidence, and then we build from that evidence. So for this house is a copy of a house that was excavated on the outskirts of Salisbury. And when we looked at the plans, there were a ring of post holes. So the holes were these large oak posts are dug into the ground. And then out beyond that, where the wall is now, there was a ring of smaller post holes where the wall would have been. And then beyond that, there is a drip trench. And all of that is very obvious in the archaeology.
And a drip trench is where all the water has run off and leaves this black ring round it.
That's right, yes.
I suppose the most obvious and dramatic thing about this hut.
What? That was their gutter system back then, so that the rainwater would leave it wouldn't disrupt the foundation or whatever they were building.
Oh, so literally just as like a catch guard, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I want to know, because I'm looking at this, did they have plaster for their walls? I thought well, no, because the Romans, I think, came up with cement, with their own makeshift cement. So maybe they did have something like that, like some kind of mixture to make their walls look the way that they do.
Yeah, they obviously had something.
Lime. Yeah, I don't know.
Is the fire. I would have expected a great big hole for the smoke to come out.
Well, we don't think they ever needed a hole for the smoke to come out. It acts as a kind of vortex with the shape of the roof, and the draft coming in the house will force the heat and the spark and the fire. It will try and find a way out, and it will head for that hole. And the temperature around the edge of the hole gets so hot that it will actually catch fire.
But then you do have the problem of smoke.
Well, we don't really have a problem. You see, the smoke goes up above the smoke ceiling in the house. We're not actually in the smoke ourselves now, and it will gradually trickle out through the straw, and it stops any insects living up there in the straw, and that means that birds won't want to come along and pull the straw apart to eat those insects.
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
So Iron Age houses were far more sophisticated than you might have imagined.
How is like heavy rain not affect it though?
The Iceni may have left no written history, but thanks to the finds and experimental archaeology, a picture emerges of a tribe who are rich both in cash terms and in their culture. And at the very pinnacle of this culture, the greatest flowering of the tribe talks, the most beautiful of all the artifacts they left behind. Only their very greatest craftsmen would have mastered the art of talk making. So, are Helen and Dana up to the job?
So now this is scary.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's sick.
What a cool thing to try.
Yeah.
If you'd like to see more episodes like this, you can make it happen. Join over 10,000 Patreon members worldwide and see new digs take place and amazing additional extras.
I want to be a part of this. Let me come. Let me go to one.
Can we be guests, please?
Yeah, can we be
Be there
guests?
next year.
Time Team's Helen Geek and experimental archaeologist Dana Goodburn-Brown are making a replica Iceni talk. They're using the original Iron Age methods in order to learn about the skills needed to create these fantastic objects. They've now reached the most delicate stage, attaching the ends or terminals to the collar.
Pressing that in tightly. And then pulling it up. Try not to.
In order to faithfully reproduce Iron Age techniques, they're using a process known as the lost wax method to cast the terminal.
Golly, that's amazing to see it coming out of the clay. You shouldn't kind of study these things without having tried to do this, should you?
Doesn't it give you a new appreciation?
Completely different appreciation of what all the marks on it might mean.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why I started experimenting. This is my 500 grams of silver.
Okay.
The final step is to pour molten silver into this mould. Dana must heat it to a blistering 1,000 degrees centigrade.
Okay, it's molten.
Fantastic.
So now this is scary.
Good luck. Yeah, it's come out the other side. Brilliant.
Oh, thank God for that.
Look at that. It just looks alive, doesn't it?
All that smoke means we didn't quite burn out all the wax, even though it was in the heat for so long.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's hammer and chisel.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
No, it looks perfect. I can see that there's some relief on
That's
the front.
incredible.
Oh,
Is it
it's
work?
shiny.
Is it
It's
working?
beautiful.
Does it work?
It is so magical seeing that emerge from out of what is essentially a lump of
Just
mud.
get the rest of this away.
That's
That's
brilliant.
pretty close.
That's absolutely fantastic.
That is really close.
Wait a minute, though. It's not
Don't
coming
pull
off.
it hard, though, just in
let
case.
me feel. Let me feel. No, that is really solidly attached. You've done it.
If you don't look at the back and you tidy up the front, do you want to be the one?
It's not
Be
bad.
careful about
It's
the
really
smoky
not.
bits.
I will. Oh, it's heavy.
How does it feel?
It feels good.
Do you
though.
feel important?
I do. It gives you
It's heavy.
bearing
Yeah.
and poise. It's an important piece of jewellery, isn't it? Yeah. Wow.
Beautiful
I can see
talks
why that
like
would
this
be.
reveal
Oh, yeah.
just how advanced Iceni culture must once have been. A complex, sophisticated society that had developed over many centuries. But in AD 43, this way of life was suddenly under threat. The Romans arrived in Britain, and they were going to run the country their way.
They couldn't garrison everywhere, so they used a technique which the Roman emperors had been operating ever since the time of Augustus, at least 50, 60 years before the invasion of Britain in AD 43. And that's the concept of the client king, which was this idea of having reliable states on your frontiers that are your friends that are on side, who you subsidise and keep under control. And that's what they did with a lot of lowland Britain.
11 British tribes signed up to become client kingdoms, including the Iceni. On the surface, it was a good deal. The Iceni gained the clout and support of Rome against their enemies, while Rome acquired an ally who'd look after her local interests.
Okay.
At first, this setup worked well.
The top people really adopted this Roman way of life. And as for the poor people at the bottom of society, the peasant farmers, they were living essentially an Iron Age way of life in their round houses. And they were quite happy as long as the Romans left them alone.
Yeah.
They've had to give up their weapons. To a warrior people, giving up your arms is the ultimate in humiliation. These are sacred. These are heirloom objects invested with a soul of their own, probably passed down through the generations. They have incredible personal and spiritual value. So there's no way you're going to give them up willingly. And it's not as if the Romans are going to care for them, take them away, look after them. They took them and they broke them. It's a sacrilege beyond speaking. So there is bound to be some kind of response to that, and it's going to be violent.
For some of these proud warrior peoples, disarmament must have been the last straw. They could no longer tolerate meddlesome foreign invaders in their midst. The time had come to stand up and resist. The time had come for revolt. According to the Roman historian Tacitus, things finally came to a head right here in North Cambridgeshire. Site of a vicious battle.
Oh,
Phil
yeah.
Harding's looking for evidence of that decisive encounter.
Breaking of, I thought that it was more so on taxes. I didn't know that the Iceni tribe had to give up their arms. And why would the Romans leave the Iceni tribe if they're there to protect the land and be there? Why would they disarm them?
Yeah, leave them defenseless.
Leave them defenseless.
Probably because if they decided that they wanted to fight them, they didn't want to.
They didn't want
to have them put up a fight.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, it strikes me there's no landmarks at all. How much further is it to this hill for?
Oh, come on, can't you see? We're approaching one of the most important archaeological monuments in the whole of Cambridgeshire, just up ahead.
You're having a laugh. Where I come from, we have hill forts. We have them and we put them on hills.
Well, to be honest, I'm from Scotland. I know what you mean about hills.
So, this is Stony Camp. It's actually quite impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, we think so.
So, ultimately, the Roman demands got too much for the Iceni. Their tolerance snapped, and they revolted. So, what was the response of the Romans?
Well, I mean, obviously, with the Iceni, the client kingdom, you know, basically bucking the authority of the emperor, the Romans, they just weren't going to stand for that. And so they were sending their troops out to basically impose the emperor's will on the Iceni.
I just want to say, history sounds a lot like America. A little bit. The damn British, man. I'm just kidding. Am I?
Tacitus writes in his Annals about an important event that took place in this part of the country. The surrounding tribes chose a site for a battle enclosed by a rough earthwork, with an entrance narrow enough to prevent cavalry getting in. And according to Stephen, Stony could be that very spot.
We're talking of the first archaeological site that enters the historical record in the entire British Isles.
And not only have we got the historic record, we've actually got the archaeological record to go with it.
Well, absolutely, and this is a rare example of a human skeleton that actually shows the signs of how the person died. So what we have here, this is a 3 or 4 year old, and you can see here there's been a sword blow that's cut right across here.
Wow.
And basically, you know, shattered the skull in two. They've been slaughtered, you know, where they're living, where they're standing. And the Roman soldiers, you know, they're running riot, there's bloodlust. It's brutal, it's deadly, and it's horrific.
When they showed a snippet of that, it was brutal, deadly, and horrific. I didn't think it was going to be a freaking baby getting its head.
I know. That's rough. I've watched so many things. You know it happens. You know, we've seen a lot of, I don't know, movies, TV shows, whatever, that depict things that happened in real life, in history, throughout history. And you know what happens. But
seeing
it hits harder now that I have a child of my own.
Are you tearing up?
I did. I teared up. I'm glad you paused because I was going to just full on start crying. I still might.
Just it's real life. You're seeing a skull where that's happened. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't even fathom it. I really can't.
We don't know how many Britons died at Stony, but it seems likely it was a huge number. The tribes had learned the true meaning of the client relationship. Stony was a stark message to anyone else thinking of causing trouble. The Iceni remained a client kingdom, and in the wake of this battle, Prasutagus, Boudica's husband, became king. Some experts believe this rare coin may bear his image. With the tribes beaten into submission, the Roman army headed back west to mop up the last Druid rebels.
I think once the big battle at Stony is over, we have a defeated, subjugated, humiliated people. They've had to give up their weapons. They have probably lost whatever remained of their really good warriors at that time. So their best hope would be to sit tight and hope that the Western tribes prevail.
It proved harder than the Romans had expected to finish off the Druids, and the battles in the west dragged on. Then in 59 AD, Prasutagus died. Under the Roman system, client kings were expected to leave their entire wealth and kingdom to Rome.
Oh,
but the Emperor Nero got only half in this case. Prasutagus left the other half to his family.
I think perhaps he anticipated that there might be problems, and he thought that by leaving the Emperor Nero half his estate, that would satisfy the Emperor, and he would allow the Iceni to carry on as they had been.
But it didn't work.
No, it didn't. It went wrong for a whole variety of reasons. Decianus.
So I would like to know how the Emperor knew how much he even had. Do they come in and just, like, ravage everything and see how much, and then they're like, okay, when you die, I'm getting all that?
Unless they value it in land. Or something else. I don't know. It's a good point.
As they had been.
But it didn't work.
No, it didn't. It went wrong for a whole variety of reasons. Decianus Catus, the financial procurator of Britain, he and his officials essentially seized the opportunity that now Prasutagus is dead, they can go in and seize all they like from the Iceni. And they do that. They're carpetbaggers, ripping the place off. The climactic event of which, of course, is the flogging of Boudica and the raping of her daughters. Probably an episode that was reflected in lots of different households across the whole tribal region.
The unimaginable horror of these events. Her children raped by soldiers, and she herself enduring a public flogging. For Boudica, this must have turned the world upside down.
Now I get why she...
Yeah, right? Yeah. Especially as a mother, yeah. I mean, I would do the same damn thing. Anything happen to my kid.
She's like, okay, we're going to kill the Romans.
Yeah.
Like,
that was the final straw.
That's it. We're done.
She no longer had anything to lose. Boudica made her decision and led her tribe into revolt.
They have been waiting years for this. They've been plotting probably quite a long time. They've been making their swords in secret, gathering everything together. I think they're the pressure cooker about to blow the lid.
Colchester was the Roman capital of Britain, and the obvious target for the full force of Iceni fury. And with the bulk of the Roman army away fighting in Wales, it was defended by just 200 soldiers. It proved to be a miserably inadequate force. The rebellious tribe and their allies attacked in their thousands, baying for blood. Terrified residents fled for what seemed to be the safest place, the massive temple in the centre of town.
Oof.
A Norman castle today stands directly over the original Roman foundations.
Oh, that's spooky.
There can't be many places in England where you can walk into an enclosed Roman space.
No, these are the vaults of the imperial temple of the divine Claudius, and it was the only thing that offered any protection, but it wasn't enough. And the Britons, the Iceni and the Trinovantes, are going absolutely stir-fry crazy in the city. They're killing everything they can get their hands on, men, women and children. But these British, tribal, Celtic people are absolutely obsessed with the head. This is the ultimate symbol. There's going to be a huge amount of decapitation, yanking off the heads of the people that they've killed and waving their trophy as they charge out of Colchester. And they find a statue of the emperor, and they cut his head off too. What an incredibly powerful and totemic thing that was. And they hurl the head into a river in Suffolk, where it's found centuries later, and it's now in the British Museum.
No kidding.
Oh my goodness.
That's incredible.
The petrified residents held out in the temple for 2 days. Huddled inside were women and children, families of Roman soldiers, along with Britons who'd embraced the Roman way of life. As far as Boudica was concerned, they were all collaborating with the invaders, and in a brutal, bloody massacre, the Iceni slaughtered the lot. By the time the battle was over, Colchester was a smouldering ruin. Once she'd won here, did Boudica...
Would they say a woman scorned?
Yeah, honestly.
Stay put?
No, she's absolutely on a roll. And the rebels churn straight down the road towards London. And meanwhile, at that particular point, the governor of the province of Britain, Suetonius Paulinus, has charged ahead with an advance force down from Anglesey. He gets to London before Boudica, and he realises he cannot possibly hold the city. Boudica comes into London and burns that city to the ground too, and it's total mayhem there as well. Suetonius Paulinus has meanwhile gone back through St Albans and up Watling Street, so we assume, and Boudica gets there too, and she completely destroys that city as well.
The Roman commander Paulinus rushed his armies back from the west, where they'd been fighting the Druids. He knew if he was to defeat Boudica, he'd have to meet her on his terms. He laid his trap, luring her into battle somewhere on the ancient roadway Watling Street. The hour of reckoning was here.
They defeat her. They wipe out the rebellion, which may well have been falling apart anyway. Let's face it, what did she have to offer people? Total destruction, disorder, chaos. And because the rebels hadn't planted their crops, there was famine. The point is really that is the end of...
But, so, she did offer them destruction where there was, you know, years of hatred and resentment formed over the Romans. So,
Exactly.
like, I mean...
To some people, that's not anything, but to other people, that's everything.
And she was their last king's, you know, wife.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to be, you know, humiliated, her, you know, that's a big, like, countries have gone to war for less, right? I guess in this case, I don't know if the Iceni tribe, I guess you could consider it like a little country, you know, how much land that they had. They were like a kingdom. So
kingdom,
like one kingdom versus another, or an empire for the Roman.
The revolt, and that's the end of the historical version of the story. From then on, we can only find out about what happened to the Iceni after that through archaeology.
Boudica was dead. No tribal leader could stand up for long against the ruthless, disciplined and battle-hardened Roman legions. Most of Britain was now firmly under the yoke of Roman rule and would remain so for centuries to come. But what became of Boudica's tribe, the Iceni? Archaeologists from the University of Nottingham are now making good progress on their dig at Caister St Edmund. They're hoping to find clues to the Iceni's fate in the Roman town subsequently built in the heart of their territory, Venta Icenorum.
1700 years ago, we would have been walking down the main street of the Roman town. Just over to our right behind me would have been the forum where the main public business of the town would have been carried out. Down towards the left would have been the bathhouse, and if you were feeling religious, on our right there was a pair of temples.
And the basilica?
The basilica was attached to the forum, and this would have been where the main business of justice and administration would have been carried out.
Jeez,
These are the large public buildings the first dig found back in 1929. They're what led them to think of the place as a major Roman town. Their lead archaeologist, Donald Atkinson, believed it was built just after Boudica's revolt in order to pacify the Iceni.
Oh.
Yeah, so they couldn't come back. They couldn't come back home.
Yeah.
Right. And what's incredible, I love that. By the way, love that they made, like, so they had the grid of the Roman grid that they saw in the picture. And I love how, you know, they used the examples of the first archaeological dig, and they gave us a visual representation that spoke volumes.
They mapped that out. Yeah, I agree. I'm really happy that they did that as well.
But a new dig led by Will Bowden is now painting a subtler picture. In the second of Will's two trenches, he's finding evidence of the type of activity that went on in the Roman town.
One of the nicest things we've had is this, a piece of pottery with some incised script on it.
I mean, the thing that strikes me about it is how well executed these letters are. I mean, they are, to me, the product of a really literate hand.
Yeah, one of the things that we find constantly here are huge numbers of these. This is an iron stylus, so it's a writing implement for writing on wax tablets.
I mean, this is the crucial indicator of literacy, isn't it? Of the level of administration that were going on in the town.
That's right. There would have been record keeping, records of taxation in particular. It was the administrative capital of the region, and you're holding the evidence for it in your hand.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
But as the dig progresses, things are becoming ever more mysterious. Not everything in the town is exactly what you'd expect from a bustling regional power centre. The geophys results have revealed that whole swathes were underdeveloped, with large areas left derelict. As soon as you look beyond the town centre, things start to look very run down.
What about over here?
Well, this area is rather more empty. The geophysics seems to show that throughout the town we have large empty areas, and it's quite likely that within the walls of the town there would have been grazing space, market gardening, so away from the main thoroughfares perhaps there would have been rather less of a dense landscape.
I find that intriguing because I always think of Roman towns as being full of hustle and bustle and life, but that's not the picture you're painting.
Yes, I think we tend to see reconstructions of Roman towns which are very densely occupied, lots of nice little white buildings with tiled roofs and this sort of thing. But certainly here, away from the main thoroughfares, I think there would have been a lot of open space and simple, quite often simple agricultural activities.
So a bit more of a shanty town?
Yeah, a certain Wild West feel to it, I think.
It's the last thing they expected. Venter Icenorum's not a major Roman town, it's a fly-blown outpost. Will's second trench only makes things look worse.
Effectively, what we're standing on is a major Roman rubbish dump. And it's this rubbish dump which would have really filled this part of the town, I think.
So what does this trench tell us then about the town as a whole?
Well, it tells us that we need to start rethinking our perceptions of what the Roman town looked like.
In what way?
Well, it's not a densely populated town full of buildings. Although we're still well within the street grid here, there's seemingly not a lot going on.
That's archaeologist speak for there's nothing there. So evidence from the excavation is forcing us to rethink the story of this town. It no longer looks like an important regional power base or thriving commercial centre. But just because the town failed to thrive doesn't mean it wasn't built to punish the rebellious Iceni.
Right.
Only more digging will reveal whether the Romans annihilated an Iceni settlement to
Miami
make way
Beach.
for their...
What is it?
Miami Beach.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that guy's shirt with the wheelbarrow?
Yeah.
So they got to dig further down then to see any Iceni evidence.
Yeah, but you start really low, just scraping like tiny little gentle layers off. That way you don't damage anything.
To punish the rebellious Iceni. Only more digging will reveal whether the Romans annihilated an Iceni settlement to make way for their own town. Did the Romans commit an act of genocide, wiping out the Iceni as revenge for Boudica's revolt?
So many questions. So many mysteries.
Join a thriving worldwide community of Time Team fans on Patreon.
Yes.
Your ongoing membership enables us to develop more sites and more episodes.
What an incredible thing.
More sites of this whole thing. That's their whole thing?
Yeah.
Cool.
The Roman town of Venter Icenorum doesn't seem to be the big bustling place we once thought it was. Quite the reverse. New archaeology is showing it to be a bit of a dump.
He says quite the reverse, but it's still really fascinating that they actually found stuff.
So it's a dump. from what? From a neighboring town or a neighboring site that used this facility or this area as a dumping ground? Like, that's even more disrespectful, I would think. Because I'm wondering if there were any Iceni survivors, were they all just obliterated and massacred? You know, were there any survivors? Was it a genocide?
That's what I was wondering as well, as soon as they said that Boudica was killed. And he said what happened to him, but he hasn't really quite said what yet.
Yeah. And so when they came back, when the emperor comes back and comes back to the Iceni tribe and the land and they start rebuilding, were there any Iceni people left?
Mm-hmm.
You know, families, young children, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, that's, who knows?
But in the second of their trenches, the Nottingham archaeologists are now uncovering one of the strange circles that showed up on their geophys results.
Oh, yeah.
They're hoping it will be the remains of an Iron Age roundhouse. If they're right, the dig will achieve its goal. Solid evidence of an Iron Age Iceni settlement built on this spot before the Roman town. It's the moment of truth.
All right, the big question. Is this Iron Age?
Nope.
Oh.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, no. All the material we've had out of it is Roman. So it's 2nd century, something like that.
Oh.
Roundhouses continued to be built for hundreds of years after the Romans' arrival, and this one was definitely constructed after Boudica's revolt. So there's still no evidence of an Iron Age Iceni town below Roman Venta Icenorum.
Dang, man.
But if there was no town here before the
find it one day.
Romans arrived, there was nothing to raise to the ground. So the Roman town may not have been built as an act of vengeance. Then why is it here?
Britain doesn't have any towns when the Romans arrive here, or not very many things that are like towns, so they set them up. This one is called Venta Icenorum, or the marketplace of the Iceni, which tells us straight away that this place was set up to be the administrative headquarters of the region that the Iceni lived in.
Unless it was already the marketplace of the Iceni, which they built on top of.
Yes, because the Romans would often exploit existing tribal behaviour and settlement. So most of these Roman tribal towns are on the site of a tribal settlement or very close to one.
So when the Iceni became a city-state to the Roman Empire, they came in and built this to administer the Iceni.
Mm-hmm.
As yet, the Nottingham archaeologists haven't found evidence of activity here before the Roman occupation. But the Romans clearly felt they needed a trading and administrative settlement in this part of the world. Perhaps they didn't wipe out the Iceni rebels, just absorbed them into their empire.
There aren't enough Romans to run the Roman Empire, so the best way you do it is you get everybody local to be as Roman as you can make them and get them to do things the Roman way. And then the whole government system of Rome feeds down out through the urban administration. And you get the local worthies to be the magistrates, to be the people sitting on the town council.
And there's now good evidence of substantial numbers of Iceni people moving into Venta Icenorum. Not all of them turned overnight into paid-up toga-wearing Romans, far from it. Evidence from the dig reveals that the Iceni clung on to many of their old ways. First off, the roundhouses. No Roman would have lived in one of these. But that's not all.
We've got 3 vessels here. We've got a large container vessel, smashed up. That piece is inverted. We've got a smaller vessel, quite fine, little pedestal base. And now we're just starting to find a mortario bowl. That's the spout there. There's the big side bits.
Wow.
It's not just rubbish, is it? Well, it could be, but it's interesting rubbish.
Yeah.
It's like a giant mixing bowl, really. And you'd use a pestle to grind your herbs or your whatever you're trying to do. You might be tenderising meat in it. And your olive oil goes in there, and that's why we've got the spout here, because once you've mixed everything up, you pour it out. Every good Roman household should have a mortario or 2 kicking around.
Lovely.
Huh.
Okay.
That's very nice.
So then they just confirmed that, like, hey, they're in a house.
Yes, we do. God, we haven't we? Look at that.
Look how excited he
Well, it
is.
looks pretty whole, pretty complete, apart from maybe this piece of damage here, this chip. So maybe that earmarked it for for chucking away or burial. Look at that, there's a little pedestal-based cup there. So there's more vessels, you know, we've had a few now. And the mortaria itself, there's another big sherd of pottery that's underneath it, so it's almost like they're layered one on top of the other at the moment.
Not only to find anything would be really, really, really exciting, but to find pieces that are almost completely whole and just seemingly untouched by anything other than the earth is
incredible.
So fascinating.
Another big sherd of pottery that's underneath it, so it's almost like they're layered one on top of the other at the
Can you
moment.
imagine being him?
So, you know, that seems fairly deliberate to me, rather than just
thousands of
throwing
these.
it randomly into a pit.
We're now thinking that pits have formed and things put in them in a very structured way for particular reasons. We know this is a practice which is well recognised from the Iron Age, but it's quite possible that it's also continuing into the Roman period as well.
The Iceni probably buried their talks in careful layers as part of some kind of ritual. But it seems they may have continued to follow this practice in the Roman era with the objects they had to hand. And there's a further clue built into the very fabric of the town. The diggers revealed a diagonal road running through the middle of Venta Icenorum. It's totally out of character for Roman road builders. They always laid out their roads running north-south or east-west.
Yeah.
And this road leads to an intriguing area on the edge of the town.
You say that there's a temple beyond us, outside the walls. Is it related to anything earlier?
Well, it's situated within a sort of quite a dense landscape of prehistoric monuments which lie to the north of the town.
So the whole area out there has been important from a religious function, probably from well into prehistoric times.
Yes, you would think so.
Well, what's out
there?
there?
The diagonal road linking the temples has been well used in the Roman period. There's a black line of a worn wheel rut, suggesting both Roman temples and the Iceni religious sites were active at the same time. So the Iceni may have moved into a Roman town, but they weren't all becoming fully Romanized. And there's certainly no indication of the Romans wiping out the Iceni. Given all of this evidence, is there still any chance the Roman town was built to punish them?
Could this place be an imperial statement, a punishment imposed by the Romans?
No, this isn't a punishment. This is the way the Romans tried to run every part of the empire. And this is a mini Rome, it's a mini Pompeii. The whole thing would have been set up like that. The thing about this town is it never really seems to have worked particularly well.
The way Will talks about it, it does sound like a pretty run-down place.
Yeah, and perhaps the real punishment for the Iceni is that they were completely marginalised, not just from the Roman Empire, but they're even the fag end of Roman Britain.
Given the undeveloped areas, it's pretty certain that Venta Icenorum was never a thriving place. The Iceni never seem to have really made a go of this town.
I don't think the Iceni were ready for it. They didn't need towns. They were essentially a rural people. They had a rural lifestyle that worked and got better throughout the Roman period. Towns were a Mediterranean invention, and their time hadn't come in Britain. And when the Romans left, the towns died. And
that's what I was going to say, is they probably were completely disinterested, because it wasn't like their typical way of life.
Yeah. Or they tried to integrate into when I guess the Roman occupation was happening, as a city-state, but yeah, it just didn't conform.
Yeah.
An invention, and their time hadn't come in Britain. And when the Romans left, the towns died, and we had to reinvent them 200 years later, but in a very different North European style this time.
The Iceni remain an enigma. Boudica led them into an all-out battle. But far from establishing a new Iceni golden age, her revolt may have been the undoing of her tribe. They lived on, and may even have prospered under the Romans, but there was no longer any doubt about who was in control of these lands. Rome had shown her iron fist. And the Iceni people seem to have faded away into history. They never again made their incredible talks, and little sophisticated metalwork is found after the Roman conquest. Their territory, modern-day East Anglia, became something of a backwater, just as it is today.
The 2 brief but violent years of history that Boudica occupied shouldn't distort our perception of her people, because the Iceni had been around long before Boudica showed up. And it wasn't a backwater tribe. This was a complex, talented, dynamic people who just happened to be on the receiving end of the military might of a huge empire. But they did leave behind some of the greatest archaeological finds the world has ever seen, not to mention a fantastic story.
Yeah, it is a fantastic story. That was actually so good. You want to let it play out? There's so much to unpack there.
I think it's interesting that he says, you know, was Boudica the undoing of the
Iceni tribe? Do you feel as though Boudica was the undoing of the Iceni tribe?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I was like, what was I even saying? I mean, I think she could have been, but I also think they knew what they were getting themselves into. It wasn't something where, you know, it's not like she dragged them, she forced them to fight along with her. I think they were willing in that. I think they knew what they were up against. I think they knew there was a good chance potentially they could all be slaughtered. I think they were fighting for a purpose.
Yeah.
And if that was their undoing, that was their undoing.
And like, look, they had the motivation, they had the means. You know, the majority of the Roman army was fighting Wales. So the moment of opportunity was ripe for Boudica.
Yeah.
To sack London.
A genius time to do it. Take out as many as you can while they're more limited. And I mean, it's just, I think she probably even knew at some point things were going to end for her. But taking the advantage, taking the opportunity to get in when she had an advantage and just take out as many as she could up until that point is genius.
And the other thing I want to add to that is they were talking about famine and stuff like that during their revolution. How long did this go on for?
Yeah.
You know, this could have been years for all I know. I mean,
yeah, I don't really think they said.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, probably, especially if you're traveling long distances, you're fighting, that kind of stuff, like famine can set in a lot quicker. But still, yeah, are we talking weeks, months, years? That's very fascinating.
And what's interesting is, you know, they said that the revolt just ended after the Romans killed them all, and that was it. That's done. Well, of course, the victor gets to rewrite or write the history moving forward. So is that truly what happened? Were there, I guess, units or sections of the Iceni that still were rebelling during that time? Like, did the rebellion stop, or was there still pockets of fighting throughout all this time? I do like that they kind of wrapped up the Iceni tribe and, you know, where they were located, where they thought that their home location was, as more of a integration of the city-state of the Romans. Because again, this could have happened for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
You know, you have no idea. And, you know, at that point, you know, when they came and took over, I don't know. It's a lot. This was such a good video.
It really was. It really intrigued me to like dive deeper into the Iceni tribe and Boudica and just kind of see what else is out there, information that we can get.
Yeah.
I am interested. Oh, I just lost their name. The
Twerks?
Yeah, Twerks. Thank you. I'm interested. I wish they would have said why they thought that they had been buried and the meaning behind them and any of that kind of stuff. So I definitely think I want to like dive deeper into that and see if there's any more information out there.
Yeah, you guys, this was a long video. This is going to be like probably our longest video we've ever recorded. Well worth it.
Yeah, super, super fascinating.
So I've never seen Time Team before. I love what they're doing. I wish I was in a position to be able to do something like this, because I feel like the people that are on Time Team like have the best jobs. Like
Yeah,
they're
honestly.
living their life to the fullest, and
They say do what you love and you never work a day in your life.
yes. So kudos to them. This was an incredible, the cinematography, the B-roll that they've added, everything was just top notch. I would, it was exceptional.
Yeah.
It makes me think of like the Last Kingdom on Netflix. It's one of my favorite shows, by the way. But when they talking about this time period, because the Last Kingdom, I believe, the Romans had left. The Romans had left. They made all these little separate kingdoms that all kind of somewhat served Rome.
Yeah.
And then the fall of the Roman Empire. And then you had Alfred and his son that kind of, I guess, created England.
Yep.
Out of Wessex and Northumbria, Mercia. And you have heroes of that time too, like Ethelfled, and you just have all these characters in history like Boudica that have rich history that are lost to the times. Like, who knows how Boudica's story was told 100 years ago?
Right, exactly.
We're hearing this story today, but what was her story back then? How did it make it through the test of time? Was her name even Boudica?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's incredible.
It's really fascinating.
It is very fascinating.
Like, truly and genuinely. And she is
a baddie.
A baddie.
She is a baddie.
Yeah, she's the type of woman that you want to, teach your children, especially daughters, about, to like empower them,
inspire them
to be just like a tough, powerful woman.
Yeah.
Love it.
And hold on to your beliefs and truths. And, don't let, it's a harrowing story. Like, yeah, it's great. You guys, thank you so much for sitting along with us and watching this. Let us know down your comments, anything you want to add to the video for anyone else who might watch this. And thank you so much. Guys, give Time Team, check out their channel, support them on Patreon. And if you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to us. That's our time. Once again, thank you so much. Bye.